actually, if you'll go back to about July 19, Anita Coffey's is actually the first one on the page, and then Joyce's was put back on second. So they're through 2019. Of course, we didn't hardly have any in 2020, and we've had some this year. But I would love for y'all to share your testimony. They're so special. They're just so special what the ladies have shared. If you want to go back on it, look. And thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you for doing that, Sister Linda. The forms are right here if you ladies are interested. I think we should be live. Thank you for being here. Happy 4th of July. And to those that are joining us through live stream, we wish you a happy 4th of July, and we're glad you're joining us as well. I told some of the guys I was going to get this flag out this morning, and it's way back over in there. So, we owe a lot to our God for where He's brought us as a country, and we owe a lot to our God, period, don't we? We live in the greatest nation in the world. Now, I know there are times when we don't think that's accurate, but we really do. We have rights that other people do not have. And it came on the shoulders of a lot of people before us, and we owe a debt of gratitude to all of those who came before us for this country. Sometimes we get the idea, we worry about our government and where they stand with patriotism. And I believe I'm a patriot. I don't know about you, but I want to be a patriot for this country. Several years ago, I insisted that my kids get a flagpole for me. And I insist on waving my flag in my yard. And I've taught my grandkids what that means. And I hope you do the same. Especially now. Especially right now when we say the world, we're talking about not just the world, but we're talking about the leader of the world. Who is who? Satan. Satan is trying to tear our godly world apart, working through our homes, through our schools, through our corporations, even through our Olympics. I'm very proud of this country, and I will support her in anything that she does, as long as she is doing it a godly way. And I will support who this country supports, especially Israel. I noticed that they have had a change in government in the last few weeks. That could be interesting. But our command from God is to support them. Pray for Israel. Pray for our country. Pray for our leaders. Even if you don't like who your leaders are, the Bible instructs us to pray for them. They need our prayers, especially right now. I saw on the Olympics, I'm sure you guys have been watching some of the coverage of the Olympic stars who are getting ready to go to Tokyo, and their attitudes towards the American flag, turning their back on the flag on the podium. I get enraged over that. And I get down and out. But then I remember who's on the throne. And I remember that God's going to deal with that in His own way, in His own time. I could get stressed out and have a heart attack over that stuff if I let it bother me enough, Stan. But just a few words here that I saw this week that gave me some encouragement. The propitious smiles of heaven can never be expected on a nation that disregards the eternal rules of order and right, which heaven itself has ordained. George Washington. We recognize no sovereign God and no king but Jesus. John Adams. Before any man can be considered as a member of civil society, he must be considered as a subject of the governor of the universe and to the same divine author of every good and perfect gift, we are intended for all those privileges and advantages, religious as well as civil, which are so richly enjoyed in this favorable land. James Monroe. And of all people, Andrew Jackson. I don't know if you know much about him. He was a rough customer. Finally, it is my most fervent prayer to the Almighty Being, before whom I now stand, and who has known His hands from infancy of our republic unto this present day, that we will so overrule all my intentions and actions, and inspire the hearts of my fellow citizens, that we may be preserved from dangers of all kinds and continue forever a united and happy people. These are just some words from past presidents. I like what Ronald Reagan said. If we ever forget that we are one nation under God, we will be a nation gone under. I know that we get there sometimes, don't we? I look around right now, and I'm going to get to the lesson, guys, I promise you. But I felt like because today was the 4th of July, we needed to recognize what it stands for and what it should mean to every one of us. What about the Bible? The words of the Bible, they're so special to me. I know they're special to you. They were special to some of these men as well. The Bible is the first and almost the only book deserving of universal attention. John Quincy Adams. My custom is to read 4 or 5 chapters of the Bible every morning immediately after rising. It seems to me the most suitable manner of beginning the day. It is an invaluable and an inexhaustible mine of knowledge and virtue. John Quincy Adams. I am profitably engaged in reading the Bible. Take all of this book upon reason that you can, and balance by faith, and you will live and die a better man. Abraham Lincoln. And the last one. A thorough knowledge of the Bible is worth more than a college education. Theodore Roosevelt. These are some men that led our country. We could use more men like that now. Not just in our government, but we could use those kind of men in our everyday walk. But thank God for the United States of America. Thank God for this day we celebrate. This nation was started as a godly nation. Many times our country has forgotten that. This country was started over blood, sweat, and tears. Many times we forget that. So pray for your country. Pray for your leaders. How about prayer requests now?
Randy Douglas got a cousin, Linda Honeycutt. She's having some issues. She got where she couldn't talk.
Mhm.
She can't swallow. And she lives in Jonesboro, and I can't seem to find out what's wrong.
Okay.
She's going to the Mayo Clinic tomorrow.
Okay.
You can pray for her.
We'll do it. Okay. Thank you, Debbie. Who else?
I have an uncle getting ready to start chemo and medical nursing, and one of the problems came back cancer, so he's like, I mean, the outlook is good, but
Okay.
chemo's always rough.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Angel. Who else do we have? Beth, any more news on your aunt?
She passed away.
Okay, I didn't know that. Thank you. I'm sorry about that, Beth. When did that happen?
Celebration of life last Friday.
Okay. We were out of town. I didn't hear any of that news. I'm sorry. Okay. What else do we have?
An update on prayer request that's been on the prayer list for probably over a year now. Genevieve and Karen, that's one of my friends or a couple of my friends from college. She had an update this weekend on her. She's, how old is she, 7? 8? Yeah, she's 7 or 8. She's having cancer. And her mama posted on Facebook that she's almost through the battle, but there's still much way to go.
Okay. Thank you, Amy. Somebody over here?
School's a week from today.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Prayers all week.
Y'all definitely need to pray for your adult Sunday school. Your adult teacher, because somebody asked me the other day what I was teaching on, and I said Moses. That's not right. I said, yeah, let's get back on track. Moses sounds good. Like the kid in children's church that says Jesus to everything. God. Okay.
Truth be told, they can tell you.
Yep, that's the truth. That's true. How you doing, Chris? Good to go? Okay. Prayers answered there. Becky, I had Becky put on our class group me yesterday, or Friday, excuse me. One of the guys that I work with a lot, Blake Breeding, his niece is in Atlanta in the hospital, and she's having all kinds of internal issues, and we placed her on there for a prayer for our class to pray for. I met with Blake on a job Friday morning to look at it for some quotes, and he was visibly shaken. And Ricky, you've met Blake here at one of our meetings, and so the other guys left, and I said, "Man, what's wrong?" His wife had just left that morning to go be with her sister and this baby girl, and so we had prayer right there together, and it did he and I a lot of good. Man, it means so much to pray right there, right then, doesn't it? Okay, so y'all remember this little girl. I don't have her name in front of me and you know I'm not going to remember it without it being in front of me. So, who else do we have? Danny doing good? Good. Good to have you guys back. Definitely keep our pastor in our prayers, please. Decisions to be made, doctors to deal with. Pray for those doctors as they consult with him and as they work through that with him as well. And pray for your church while this is going on. Okay? What else? Anybody else?
Brooke's about 3 weeks away.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Y'all aren't getting excited, are you? Just a little bit? Just a little bit. What about you two? Did you see Ricky's face? Did you see Ricky's face?
Ricky said he's moving his granddaughter's parents tomorrow. That's how he phrased it. He's not moving his daughter, he's moving his granddaughter's parents.
Petitioning for a furlough school district. Take a job at next year.
Okay. All right. Hey, I get it. I get it. I get it. Okay. Okay. Any other requests? Any other announcements? Blessings you want to share? Okay. Update on the twins.
They're out of the hospital, doing better. The little boy they decided has allergy to milk.
Mm.
We're trying to find, they're going through all kinds of, trying to find the right thing that we can do.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mark.
They're doing better.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Anybody else? Okay. Mark, would you open us in prayer, please? Man. Oh, and remember Dennis and Tanya, they have 2 sick granddaughters at home this morning. So, and they have a lot on their plate. So, just remember them too, okay? We are going to be in the 18th chapter of the book of Matthew this morning. Thank you again for Ronnie being here last week. Bless you. Bless you live on TV or on phones, whatever the case may be. That's what I like about this class. We can be loose and be serious about what we're talking about at the same time. And I just like to refer to it as being real, keeping it real, because that's what it is. I mean, our day-to-day stuff, if we can't come in here as brothers and sisters in Christ and talk about this with each other and pray for each other, what's it all about? So that's why I enjoy this class so much, and I enjoy you folks so much. 18th chapter of the book of Matthew, Ronnie did a great job last week. Again, like I said, I appreciate him stepping in. We had a great time up at Catherine's Landing again with that bunch, man. That bunch there. Becky's side. Kendall, you can attest to that. You're not new to the family enough, but you've been around long enough that you've gotten a full dose of Mitch and Mike and Jeff Holt. And it's a hoot, man. It's something else. We enjoy it, and I tell you, there are things that they do that I'm so impressed with as brothers and sisters, though. You know, they stay in touch. There's love there. They were talking about in our cabin one night, the siblings were talking about getting a marker for their sister Diane that passed away a few years ago. And to sit and watch them work together over something like that, it's encouraging to me. And I applaud them for the way they handle that stuff. They do so well together. But we had a great time. A little warm, but we had a good time. Glad to be back. And so y'all are stuck with me again. In this chapter in the book of Matthew, our class on Wednesday night on I Am a Church Member, which I don't see a lot of you there. Okay, we'll move on. But see, you didn't have me last week. So that would have been your one time last week, Stan. I got you. I am a church member. We touched on a lot in this same, didn't we, Miss Ann? We touched on a lot in this same area last week. And the beginning of this chapter is talking about the brothers coming. And they're wanting to know who is going to be the greatest in the kingdom. Because remember, guys, they're still, even though everything that they've been through with Jesus to this point, and everything, not only what they've been through, but Jesus, the man, has been telling them over and over and over what I'm here for. I'm not here right now to be this mighty king, warrior king. But you know, these guys are still stuck on that whole ego trip of, well, we've got the king with us now. Where am I going to fit into this play? You know, where do I fit in? Who's going to sit on your right hand? Who's going to sit on your left? They even put their mother up to, well, I say that. Miss Ann and I differ on that, right? I have to believe that they may have mentioned at home with Mom, James and John, you know, Mom, I wonder, you know, would you mind saying something to Jesus about, you know, it'd look bad if it comes from us. But if you ask him, I mean, you're a mom. And Miss Ann and I don't agree on that. She can be wrong if she wants to. No, I'm just kidding. Well, we don't know that. That's just speculation on my part. But you know, they put their mom, or their mom goes to Jesus and says, "My two boys here, I want one of them to sit on the right and one to sit on the left." And Jesus asked that important question. You're not ready to drink from the same cup that I'm about to drink from. Oh, yes, Lord, we'll drink from it. They have no clue what this cup, this metaphor cup, contains that he's about to drink of and go through for not only those two, but for all of us. They got no clue. But they got this mentality of who's going to be the greatest in the kingdom. Who's the greatest in our church right now? At Northview Missionary Baptist Church, we got some good people here, man. We got some hard workers here. We got some good teachers. We got, I didn't get a response out of y'all. Look at this one looking over her glasses at me. Darlene's looking at me like, I can't believe you just said that. But we got some fantastic. I do too. Thanks, Mark. We got some great teachers here too. No kidding. And I think about it, Debbie and Becky in Children's Church and all the ones that have worked in Children's Church. Some of you do that, take turns. Some of you teach our kids, and goodness gracious, if we don't teach our kids, guess what? Somebody out there is ready, willing, and able to teach our kids. Exactly. The world is ready to teach your kids if you're not ready. So we got some great kids teachers. We got a good pastor. We got all these. We got a pretty building now, and we got things going on. Who's the greatest here at our church? If you had to pick one person who was the greatest at this church, who would you pick? Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Amy. The greatest person at this church is Jesus. He is the head of our church. And the moment that we don't remember that, we are in trouble as a people under God. We are in trouble. We no longer are a church, as far as I'm concerned, when we don't think Jesus is our head. We don't need to worry about who the greatest is. He's the greatest. We don't need to worry about who does the most work, who does the most paint. Man, Ricky, I got on one the other day, and I told her in Wednesday night class, Miss Ann, is anybody else in here in Wednesday night class? Yeah, Brock, thank you for coming, sir. I appreciate your loyalty. I thank you for your loyalty. And I thank Miss Ann for her loyalty. And Kendall, she comes when she's not teaching. Angel, I know you'd come if you didn't teach.
I was teaching, thank you.
Okay. Anyway, we were talking about, and I got on one of them deals, Ricky, where I wanted to know who was the greatest in the kingdom moments. I had been up here working on them floors with Dennis, and that's a chore in itself. Not the floors, working with Dennis. No, I'm just kidding. He's good. And I'd been working on this, and and other people did too, but this was about me, Debbie. I didn't want to talk about them other folks. This was about me. And been up here 2 or 3 nights a week for weeks, you know, and Becky says, I got to run up to church. I forgot to do so-and-so. Well, here I'm fussing about coming back up here. I'm fussing about the keys. I'm fussing about her. I'm fussing about all her sacks. Because Becky loves sacks. But she had me on the floor this morning digging for sacks to bring something for children's church. I'm sitting in the car. I'm not even going to go in. Becky, you go in and do whatever you got to do. And I'm fussing to myself in the car, Ricky. And while I'm sitting there, somebody calls me from the church. I won't say who it was. And wants something else. I hang up from that phone call. I'm still sitting there wondering how long Becky's going to be in here. I'm ready to go home. And somebody else calls from the church. And guess what, Ricky? They want something. And I'm sitting there, and by this time, I am fuming, man. I'm sitting right over here in front of the education wing by the playground. Becky finally comes out. She beats that door bloody trying to lock it. Y'all know the door I'm talking about. Wham! 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 All of this is building. She gets in the car, and I start complaining to her. And you know what she said? Better watch it, big boy. That's all Becky said was, you better watch it, big boy, because I'm in the car with you. I get over here pulling out on JFK by this custard store. She forgot something else. I feel like somebody's driving a nail over my eyebrow. I put it in reverse, and I back up, and I back into a car.
Sorry.
But ain't that how it happens? Just about the time we think, and you know what I did, Angel? You're laughing in it. It's funny now because God blessed through this. He did. He blessed. He will bless through these things. I step out. I didn't say anything. I put it in park, emergency brake. I step out of the car, and as soon as I stepped out of the car, I looked up to God and I said, I get it. Becky's my witness. It's the first thing I said. I get it. And I went back there, and it was a young lady. Our bumper had just kind of pushed in her bumper. And so I said, if you don't mind, just back up real slow. She did, and went thump, thump. Everything was fine. No paint. Gave her my business card. She said, I need to tell my dad. I said, you tell your dad. If you were my daughter, I'd want to know too. You tell your dad, you call me if there's any problems. God blessed through that I didn't tear her car up. God blessed through that I didn't hurt her. But he got my attention. about thinking who is the greatest in his kingdom. And it ain't me. And he'll grab us like that, won't he? He'll get us, man. Huh? Oh, yeah. And that's so perfect. Because in our lesson, being humble is one of the hardest things we can do. If you read your book, it talked about that. Humbleness is the hardest thing for us to do, and it's something we can't hardly swallow. But we're commanded to be humble, aren't we? Now, when I say we're commanded as Christians and church members to be humble, are we to be run over? What do I mean by run over? What am I getting at here, guys? Remember when I started off and I said, me and Ricky talked about this a bunch. Our TVs and our phones and our schools, goodness gracious, what they're teaching our kids in school or what they're wanting to teach our kids in school, we can't get run over there, folks. We can be humble and we can be kind. We don't need to be like the people over in Virginia that started fighting in the school board meeting. We need to make our voices heard as Christians in this country, and we don't get run over. And if we do it the proper way, God will help us do it, okay? But they're trying to cram, this sounds awful, they're trying to cram this down our throats about what we're teaching our kids. They were already removed Bible. How far are we willing to let them go? I'm getting off track, Ricky. Getting off track. We hadn't even read Scripture yet. How are we supposed to act? How are we supposed to act as Christians and Christian Americans today? Verse 11, start in verse 11 through 14. For the Son of Man which is come to save that which is lost, how think ye? If a man have 100 sheep, and one of them be gone astray, doth he not leave the 99 and goeth into the mountains, and seeketh that which is gone astray? And if so, be that he find it. Verily I say unto you, he rejoiceth more over that sheep than the 99 which went not astray. Even so it is not the will of your Father which is in heaven, that one of these little ones should perish. He gave those disciples who were talking about who's the greatest in the kingdom a very important lesson here. And this, I'm telling you, this ties into what we just talked about, Miss Ann, in our class on Wednesday night about being a church member. Not one of us is more important than any other person in this church. From the pastor to the people who mow the grass, to the people who clean, to the people who teach. And I gave Clay as an example. He's not in here. Now, he may hear this. But I gave Clay as an example. Clay, and some of you guys that have jumped in there, Ryan, some of you guys that have jumped in there are helping Clay. Thank you. Thank you. The guy needs help. That little fellow will kill himself for this church. I'm telling you, he will. Rachel was in our class that night, and I know he's gone from home a lot because Clay is down here working on cameras. He's working on lights. He's working on all these things and does not want any attention for it. That's the kind of person Jesus is describing with these sheep, okay? Because we are his sheep, right? Sheep are what? What is the number one thing everybody says about sheep? They are not just dumb, they're stupid. Guess what, guys? Yeah, we're all stupid. I'm sorry. Because we get some stupid ideas and some stupid way of thinking about things, don't we? But he gave them this example of this shepherd a shepherd in those days, guys, he didn't sleep much. He didn't get to eat much. He didn't get to rest much because he was always doing one thing. He was worried about those sheep. And not just one of those sheep, but the whole flock. Every one of them. And he gave them this example of if one of those 100 sheep disappears. You know, the common sense thing would say, well, man, I still got 99. What's one sheep? What's one? And if there's one sheep out of 100 that leaves, he must be the most dumb sheep. So what have I lost? I've lost the most dumb, the most ignorant member of our group. Jesus said that shepherd will leave the 99 because that sheep is just as important as any of the rest of that 99. That's the way we should feel about each other. And that's what we should feel about the service to God. You know, some of us get a little big head every once in a while. And the next thing you know, he's going to have you backing into somebody in the church parking lot. He didn't even let me get away from here, Ricky. You understand what I'm saying? Sometimes he'll put you on a tether and he'll let you go and go and go. And guess what happens? I got away with that. It's okay. Then he gets you. And sometimes he'll let you get about 4 parking places from where you started. And then he'll get your attention. Now, I've talked about these things before. Put your feet under your chair. Because a lot of this it goes back to what we make idols of. Be careful what we make idols of. Because you are part of that 100. Okay? Not just this group, but there's a group of Christians that God is looking out after right now, and it's more than 100. You are just as important to him as any other Christian. You are just as important to him as any other church member. But when you start making things an idol, he's not going to turn his back on you, but he will let you go. And he will take care of whatever you're making an idol of. You may lose that idol in order to get you humble and get you back. Jesus is teaching these men, the church, at that time. Part of the church. None of you are going to be more important. Now, I know that in throughout Scripture that when you read about the disciples, who are the first 3 names you hear about every time? Peter, James, and John. A lot of people would say, well, they're the top. They're always the first ones mentioned. They're the ones that Jesus took with him to here, and they're the ones that Jesus took with him to there. Does that make them more important than the other disciples? Or does that make them the ones that needed to know more than the other disciples? Okay? The shepherd leaves these 99. Now, I don't think this shepherd leaves them insecure, does he? He makes sure when he leaves them that he leaves them in a place where they won't wander off anywhere, where he doesn't really have to worry about them as much. The bottom line to this is that the shepherd is so concerned about each and every one of his sheep that he will go get them. Now, I'm using this go get him as just like he went and got me that night for what I was doing. I was gone. I had left the fold. I had gotten out by myself, and by yourself, guess what you are? You're easy prey. When you're by yourself in this world we live in, you can come under attack. You're already under attack, but everything will come from. Y'all ever seen the movie Jeremiah Johnson? Man, if you hadn't, you need to see it. I know, Kendall, you don't watch movies. Huh? Jeremiah Johnson, he messes up because he's leading this group of people into an area, and they want to go through an Indian burial ground, and he says no, so he leaves them, and they go through it anyway. But the Native Americans, blame him for it. And they come at him one at a time. Everywhere he goes, he never knows when the next attack is coming, one at a time, for years. Years. And that's what we're like when we get away from the fold, when we get away from the church, when we get away from God's people, and we get out there on our own by ourselves. That's the way it's going to happen to us. We're going to come under attack from this. And then we're going to come under attack from that. That shepherd cared enough about that sheep that he left that 99 to go protect that, go find that sheep who was going to come under attack of wolves and whatever else is out there. Whether it may fall off a cliff and break its leg, may walk into a pond and drown. He was going to get that one because he cared that much for that one. And that's the way he cares about a lost soul. One more lost soul. One more to bring to Christ. He goes and gets them. He goes and finds. And think about this. If this sheep has wandered off, if we have wandered off, and we've gotten ourselves into a dangerous situation, that shepherd gets to go into a what? Dangerous situation as well. With no fear. With no worry about what's going to happen to me if I go. You know, hey, I ever tell you about the night Jim and I went and got the lady over at the hotel? Pardon? Yeah, I will. A young lady was coming to our church through the food pantry for quite some time. And Jim and Lisa were graciously, they were giving her a ride, making sure she had a ride to church and everything. And so she got to know Jim and Lisa. And Jim helped her out a lot. And the church helped her, which it should. That was that sheep. Okay? One night I get a phone call at the house, and I answer the phone, and Jim says, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, nothing." He said, "Well, I need you to go with me." And he said, "Lisa's been on me." He was going to go by himself. And Lisa wouldn't let him go by himself. She said, "No, you call Randy and go." So he calls me and he says, "Yeah, I'm going over to Scott Hamilton." This is 9 o'clock at night, guys. "I'm going over to Scott Hamilton Road to a hotel to pick up so-and-so. I won't tell you what her name is." She got over there and she got back together with her boyfriend, and he's beating her up, and he's left her stranded. I said, "Okay, I'll come by and get me." This is not a nice place to be at 10 o'clock at night on Scott Hamilton. This is a bad situation we're going into. We park, and she's supposed to be outside waiting for us, and we park, and I go into the hotel desk and say, "Yeah, is so-and-so here?" And she said, "Are you from the church?" I said, "Well, yeah, as a matter of fact, we are." I said, "So she told you we were coming?" She said, "No, y'all just look like y'all were from a church." And so we searched we're having to look for her now. And we finally found her. All of her belongings she had with her, and we loaded them in Jim's trunk, and we took her to her sister's house back in North Little Rock. One person was out of the flock. One person was in need. Now, Jim Fink was willing to go. I was the guy that took my pistol to go. You understand what I'm saying?
It was closer to baseline, actually, than Scott Hamilton. So.
Yeah, it is closer to baseline. Willing to put yourself in a situation to help someone else is what God is trying to teach these men about their life and their importance. You're only as important as the next person. Your soul is only as important as the next soul. Okay? Now, I could have very easily said, no, Jim, man, that's not going to work. We don't need to go over there. But something inside of you will tell you, that something inside of you will tell you is the Holy Spirit, will tell you that we got this. We're safe. If you're doing what God, that shepherd had to feel the same way when he went after that one sheep. He had to feel that inside, that it didn't matter what he was going to have to go through. The pitfalls, the cliffs, the water, the nighttime, the dark, whatever the case may be, he had no fear of what he was going through to get to that one sheep. Jesus Christ did what he did on those final days of his life through the beatings and the crucifixion and the death and the betrayal as that shepherd for one more person. And he's still doing that right now. We're getting ready to have Bible school. Guys, Debbie and all you people that work so hard for Bible school, it's worth one soul, isn't it? Just one. If we can get one out of, I don't know, what have we been, about 110, 115? Yeah. If we've been over here 150, that's fantastic. If we can get 150 people, not just kids, but if we get 150 people together and all that work, turning on all the lights and turning on all the air conditioners, man, we're burning that electricity, boy. We're using a lot more water. We're spending money on food. We're doing all these things, but if we can get one more soul out of that, saved. Not that we get them saved, but if God can save one soul through our efforts, it's worth it.
2 weeks ago, my grandson was that soul.
Yep. Amen. Yep. At Bible school. That's the story of this shepherd. Now, we hadn't even gone into the ugly part of this lesson. How much time we got? We got 5 minutes. I'll never make it. The other part of this lesson that he taught them, Ricky knows, man, Ricky knows.
Producer to work on these stories, man. We got to get these things put in windows.
I get my mind, Ricky. I can't help it, man.
That rabbit takes off. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm gone.
Barking and gone.
He also teaches them a little lesson about, okay, what about this one sheep or this one person who goes astray that is wrong? Uh-oh. Let's say that this one person in our church gets off the beaten path and gets into a life that they don't need to be into. And we've had that happen. And it can happen at any moment, right? What should our attitude? Jesus is teaching those men what your attitude should be towards that person. You should do one thing first. What was the first thing that Jesus teaches you to do? Who has offended you or offended the church? What do? You go to that person, right? You don't leave them out there. And how do you go? And what kind of heart do we have, Chris? Yeah, and we want them back. We don't go at them with this attitude of this holier than thou. Remember, we're not any better than any other person. So we can't go to this person and say, I condemn you for what you're doing. That's not your job. Your job is to go to that person in love and get them back into the flock. Get them back into the church. Now, if that doesn't work, let's just say that you two people that are getting together here, you and the person you're going to, the chemical doesn't work out and it doesn't turn out as well as you hoped it would. What do you do next? Now, you've got to be very careful here. You don't go as a person, an individual, to be judgmental and harsh with this person. You go in love. When you choose someone to go with you, you better put some prayer into it. You better be talking to God about, God, who are you? Who do you want to go with me? Not now. If I say, okay, I'm going to take Ricky, Ricky may not be the right person to take, right? Maybe I should have taken Chris, or vice versa, or maybe I should have taken Becky. God needs to place with you the person that is suitable for Him to go to that person. Because otherwise, you just start ganging up on. You can just start ganging up on somebody, right? Oh, well, you brought your best friend with you to talk to me about this. You brought somebody who is in total agreement with you to come talk to me about this. Get God to place that person in your life to go talk to that person. Now then, if that doesn't work, what do we do? Take it to the church. Now, hold on a minute here now. When I say take it to the church, do I stand up in the middle of a church sanctuary meeting with a worship service and say, I've got something to say. I want to put this person's name out there as being away from the church and they're doing wrong. I went to them, I took so-and-so with me, and they still don't want to come. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about taking the situation to the church. We're talking about taking the problem to the church. For the church to do what? Pray. It all comes back to prayer, guys. If you bring it to the church in the right frame of mind for reconciliation. A lot of people out there have got this idea about Baptist churches that, okay, well, these bunch of Baptists, if you do wrong, they want to get you off the road. And that's not what we should be about. We should be about wanting to get them, the person that is on the church road, that is a Christian. First, we need to make sure that they are a Christian. Make sure that they come back into the protection of the church body, in the right way. We don't want anybody gone. We want you back. Because you need us and we need you. Because it all goes back to that very beginning statement. Not one of us is more important than the other. You could be that 1 in 99 at any time. It could be a change in something in your life. It could be a change at work. It could be a number of different things that can happen within your very own home that could change your outlook about church, about Christianity. And you could be gone. I don't know about you. When that happens to me, and it can, I want the church to come after me. I want God's people to come after me. Because I promise you, if God's people don't come after me, the world's coming after me hard. Same thing goes for your kids. Your kids go off to college. Your kids go get married. They start their own lives. Your grandkids grow up and you worry about them. They're not under your roof anymore. You still worry about them. You worry about them as much as if they were still under your roof. And that's what God is doing with us as His children under this roof. Not just this building, but under His roof, His church. He's worried. He's as worried about us wherever we are as we would be about our kids who are grown and gone. He cares for you that much, and He loves you that much. And He will put people in your life to come get you if He doesn't do it Himself. Y'all got anything you want to say?
Just I was actually talking to Taylor and Andrea Friday night, but we were talking about some of our friends that maybe one of the things that we don't understand, forces or whatever, and maybe not in church or have been, but not anymore. In some of the conversations we've all three had with different sets of friends, but I mean, kind of one thing that we all told them, and it has to do with I'm in church, I'm not better than anyone else because I'm in church or I'm a Christian or whatever.
Oh, no.
Totally, that's not, I agree with that way, I don't know at all. And so I think that's one of the biggest misinterpretations of church is folks that aren't, maybe grew up in it and something happened and their families left or something like that, they never got back in it, but we're all here because we're broken anyway.
Yep.
We're here to lift one another up for whatever reason, whether it is divorce, whether it is, tragic or just day-to-day
Life.
things that
Life.
happen. And it doesn't have to be a
Mhm.
I think we kind of, well, we all grew up in different churches. That's one thing we came to. We don't come to church as a purpose.
That's right.
Church
Nope.
to get lifted up.
No, I told you guys, and I told the class on Wednesday night, church is a mess. It's a mess because it's full of messy people. And life happens the way it does. And God was smart enough to know that, thank goodness. But that's why He puts us all here together as part of this flock. Just keep in mind that nobody's more important than the other. And Ricky, I'll try to work on get my stories in proper order.
You keep telling them they fit good.
But they just pop into my old feeble brain, man.
See, right now, I'm not going to bake mine tonight, though. You and Jim go take care of that.
Well, I will tell you, it was spooky. It really was. I mean, that could have been a setup. Could have been anything. But what it was a mission that God wanted us to go on. Almost a mission from God.
Load the bus next
Yeah.
to take several people.
Yeah. Maybe we need to take a bus load and an armored car. But, and guys, the thing about it is not every time when you bring that person back that it'll work out. It didn't work out that night. She never came back to church again. Even after contacts after that, never came back. But God wants us to try, doesn't He? We left her with a feeling that this church loved her and cared enough about her to do something. And that's all we can do. And we'll let God work out the rest of it. Just like we talk about our country right now. We'll let God work that out. I had somebody tell me the other day, well, we got to be in tribulation time. No, because I'm still here. I won't be here when the tribulation starts. There's a difference between persecution and tribulation, and we're living through persecution as a church. Since the first church that we just talked about this morning. Let's stand.